There's no water in Arizona, but the ball did hit McCovey Cove. It's another episode of Splash Hit Territory. We are both in Scottsdale. Susan, nice enough to join me again today. I'm FP Santangelo, your amazing host for this. And the wonderful Susan Slusser joins us. Susan, lots going on right now in Giants camp. We're both here. This is so much better to do these podcasts when we're actually here and in the dugout.
We're not in the same place. We're not in the dugout. We're in our stupid hotel rooms. I mean, you know what? Don't get me wrong. I like a day off during the spring. It's 6 long weeks. These are, I don't think people understand. Everybody's like, you're so lucky you go to spring. I think I complained about this once before. They're long days. You know, we're at the ballpark from like somewhere between 7 and 8 until often 5 or 6. So, not necessarily the broadcasters, though, whatever.
Hey, I'm there with you most of the time. I just don't go for the open clubhouse early in the morning. I wait for batting practice. And the pool's right outside my room, so this could be a quick one today on an off day for sure. Okay, so we got some WBC talk. It's starting. Everything's going on. You can stream the World Baseball Classic live March 6th through the 14th on FS1. So, I mean, the USA lineup the other day is incredible. Maybe the best lineup I've ever seen in the history of baseball. You got all the American players from the National League, the American League. It was Bryce Harper. It was Kyle Schwarber. It was Aaron Judge. And then you had guys that were MVP candidates coming off the bench late in the game, like the minor league guys, but they're guys that have been in the MVP conversation. So you can catch all the action on FS1. Now that we got that out of the way, we can talk some Giants baseball.
I think we've got more WBC, because what we were going to talk about first in our very hasty planning session, FP and your freaking pool, is
that's what FP stands for, by the way.
Freaking pool.
Freaking pool.
Oh my God. I'm about to remember that and now use that. Our first topic is injuries, and I feel like I'm repeating myself sometimes on these, but I have such mixed feelings on the WBC because of injuries. And the Giants were, I believe, the first team to incur an injured WBC-related injury in one of the exhibition games, and it was Reiver Sanmartin. And this is, look, the segment is like up with WBC, and in general, I like it. But the Giants don't have a lot of left-handed relievers right now. And Reiver Sanmartin has experience. Pitched for the Reds for 4 years. He looks good. I mean, if they want a second lefty, and this is assuming Erik Miller, who hasn't pitched yet, is all okay. But Reiver Sanmartin was maybe one of the leaders in the clubhouse. I mean, Matt Gage has actually looked good, but Matt Gage is the only healthy lefty right now. Yes. Really, certainly the only one on the 40 man. So I honestly, it's low key a little bit of a big deal. So looking forward to seeing Logan in the WBC, our friend Tristan Beck, a friend of the pod, and also all the other guys in there, Harrison Bader, certainly Elliot Ramos. Check out the bleach blonde hair, everybody. If you haven't seen it yet, it's fantastic. Love it. That's a cool Puerto Rico tradition that I love. But I will be holding my breath a little bit with all of those guys, with everybody that's in there. So, yeah, it's what are you thinking bullpen wise and injury wise?
Well, I'm just keep my eye on Erik Miller. He's lights out, man. When he's ready to pitch, like, he's a guy. I love Matt Gage, by the way. I got to know him this winter. We did the Sacramento Fan Fest together. What an awesome dude. What a great story. He's second stint with the Giants. He's been all over the place. He's worked really hard, and he's hilarious. So he's one of my favorites too. But Erik Miller's stuff, man. I mean, the guy throws 100 with a nasty changeup, and the Giants need Erik Miller. And that's where I'm really looking at. I know he's a little behind schedule. Is he behind schedule? I knew he threw a bullpen the other day. You guys were asking Tony in the dugout. What's his status?
Well, he has a back thing that cropped up. So it's not just like kind of the remnants of what he was dealing with last year, which he's true, but he's had a back. And that is so common to, after you're done with rehab and start ramping up again, to have something like a back or a hammy, tight, general tightness, just like one of these like kind of annoying things that just halts you in your tracks. And he's so anxious to get back. Vitello's known him for a long time. They went to the same high school. They're both from St. Louis. He's their best lefty. I mean, if anyone wants him back pronto, it's Tony Vitello. So I talked to Erik a day or two ago, and he said he is hoping to face hitters sometime in the next few days, maybe this weekend. And Vitello is hinting that he would be in a game if all goes well. And we always have to say that because you never know. Backs are weird. Maybe toward the end of the next week in a game. If so, problem solved. That's more than enough time for a reliever to get ready, especially a veteran. Oftentimes teams, including the Giants in some years, have kind of lightened the load on some of their regular relievers early in the spring, save some bullets, work them in slowly. They don't need that much time. So fingers crossed, because he really is a big key. But there's other injuries too we got to concern ourselves about. I mean, it's not just Joel. Speaking of relievers, Joel Pinheiro, yeah, and he re-injured it. That's not good. It's a grade 2. I don't think we'll see him this spring. I think the Giants would be happy if he's in games at some level, maybe like a rehab stint in Arizona, and then maybe in Sacramento to get ready. If he is a guy that they are going to put in the big league bullpen. I don't really always understand what this wide open bullpen competition is, frankly. Do you have a handle on this? Because, there's some guys we know are going to be in there. Buto will be in there. Ryan Walker, who's looked pretty good and wants that closer job, he'll be in there. There's Erik Miller will be in there. So what are we talking about? Are we talking about 2 spots? I don't know. It might be like kind of the last man standing if there's health issues.
Well, while I respect all those guys, I'm not as concerned as Giants fans are about the bullpen. I've been around teams that have been very successful and they've pieced it together early in the season, and then you have your bullpen fresh later in the season. So these injury concerns and the opening day roster and what it is, the one thing I would say contradictory to my statement is the schedule comes at you fast. It's Yankees, it's Padres, it's Phillies, it's Mets. And so you out of the gate, you're facing some really good hitters. But even if Erik Miller's not ready or so-and-so's not ready, you can figure out a way to maybe stretch out things and piece it together early in the season. Hayden Birdsong's still a huge wild card for me. Like he's the glue that puts all this together. And I know that's putting a lot on the kid, but if he can learn to throw strikes, I know he went over to the minor league side and apparently his second stint over there, I don't know, I read it in your article because I wasn't on the minor league side, that he was impressive. So I love Hayden Birdsong's stuff. I'm rooting for the guy. The confidence has been an issue or whatever it is. I can't get in his head. But like he's the guy that puts this whole thing together, not to put all the pressure on him, whether he's a starter or a reliever, and maybe he is a reliever. He was good in that role last year.
Well, I'm a little more concerned about the bullpen than I think you are, because it was already a question mark and now there are injuries. I wouldn't mind if they are scouring for a good, experienced reliever to add to this pen, because I'm not sure they have enough experience. They have some good arms. Do they have enough in the bullpen? I'm not 100% convinced, but I do. Hayden Birdsong saying. I feel like we've just been talking about him every time, and it did sound like he had a good. They send guys over to the minor leagues for controlled situations. So he had 2 ups. Kind of doesn't matter, it's just to face live hitters and to kind of get ups and get down. Like Ryan Walker went 1 up, so essentially 1 inning, but he was on a pitch limit of about 25 through 23 pitches, got 7 outs, which really confused one of my editors, I have to say. He kept wanting to rephrase it, and I was like, the way you're rephrasing it makes it sound like he went 2 1/3 innings. He did not. He just pitched really effectively in his 23 pitch stint. So anyway, it's controlled situations. I'm not sure how much it tells you, but Tony Vitello was there and he said he really liked that second inning. I think everybody's rooting for Hayden Birdsong. The talent might be the best among that group of young starters. But I will tell you, Trevor McDonald is the one that so far has looked like maybe if they want somebody to start the season in the bullpen as sort of a swingman, he's the guy, I think, at this point out of those young guys.
He's been impressive. He could be the long man out of the bullpen and a Swiss Army knife out of the bullpen too. So All right, enough bullpen talk.
Yeah, and we got other injuries too. Like what's more important than Rafael Devers, right?
He's fine. He's going to be. Rafi could go all of camp and play the games against at the ballpark. That's Mookie. Has Mookie Betts even played yet? Spring training's so overrated for guys that can hit. He rolls out of bed and he's hitting 400-foot bombs. He's fine. Like the load management, like he needs 10 more at bats. He's good.
Counterpoint.
Yes. First base, he's fine.
Counterpoint. They want him working with Ron Washington, and yeah, he will pick up a lot. Just in whatever time he has, or even during the regular season. This is really the time to nail some of that stuff down, though. I think it is a big deal. Yeah, he can roll out of bed and hit. I'm not sure he can roll out of bed and play first base. He's a guy who has said he'd like to be a Gold Glove first baseman. He needs to work with Ron Washington to do that. I think he's going to be better than average Gold Glove. I don't know. But I do think that is a consideration. And he told me yesterday that he thinks he will be maybe even in games soon. It's one of those FP, if they've got a lot of road games, he's probably not going to be in a game because he's of the stature that he's not going to take a road trip unless it's super close or close to where he lives. But I think he will be in game soon. So I'm not actually worried about him. And I do want him out there working with Wash. Drew Gilbert, he's got this shoulder thing. He started hitting, but he has not started throwing. I think he is becoming maybe less of a consideration for an opening day roster spot, much as he obviously goes back a long way with Vitello. He gave the team such a big lift last year with his energy when he came up. It might be a little bit tougher for him. And I'm not sure how they're looking at that backup outfield spot. Anyway, do they want to sneak Matos onto the roster as long as possible since he's out of options? He's played well. Super scary moment yesterday when he got hit in the head. He obviously fine. He stayed in the rest of the way. But it's, they've got some interesting. Will Brennan's been real good. So I don't know. But these injuries do affect guys' potential job status too this time of year.
It does. I like Will Brennan a lot right now. I'm a Drew Gilbert fan, but when you're trying to make a team and you get hurt, that's a hard one. But Will Brennan's shown me everything you need to see from a fourth outfielder. Little left-handed hitter, hits the ball the other way. A little bit of pop in his bat. He's solid on the bases. He's got decent speed. He's not a burner, but he's pretty fast. And I got to chat with him the other day. Just a really nice kid. Happy to be here. So I like all the options. But I also like.
There's only one backup guy, FP. It's pretty much got to be a left-handed hitter because they're looking at an all right-handed bench. Otherwise, got to be a left-handed.
It's got to be a guy that knows how to come off the bench. We just think it's a video game, and young kids can come off the bench when, in essence, they're playing every single day in the minor leagues. Then you get up to the big leagues, and you don't play. You play like once or twice a week. And you lose your rhythm if you sit around. Luis Matos has struggled mightily with that. When he gets extended playing time, he's able to slow the game down. And you don't have this, if I go 0 for 4 today, I'm not going to play for a week mentality. And so for Drew Gilbert, such a young player, is he a guy that you want to play once a week? Or do you want him to keep developing at AAA? Even though I love the energy, I love the kid, I love his vibe. We all fell in love with him last year. But if you have somebody that's more established, that knows how to stay ready in between starts, that goes and sits down in bullpens and stands in the box and sees velocity, or you just don't try to go 5 for 4 in a game because you only get one game a week. And that's the thing that I always struggle with. Like, you want to show the manager what he's missing. When you get your chance, you want to show him that I should be playing every day. Screw this. And you try too hard, and the next thing you know, you're kind of cementing your role. There's also the aspect of knowing your role and embracing your role and wrapping your arms around your role, that if I'm a bench player, I'm going to be the best damn bench player you've ever seen. I'm not going to sit over here and bitch and moan because I'm not playing in a corner of a clubhouse and I can't believe this guy's playing. Bench guys should be seen and not heard. They can never make waves. So when you have an older guy that knows his role, you don't have to worry about that. Where Drew Gilbert should be thinking I should play every day, and Luis Matos should be thinking I should play every day. But if you've already given that a go and you're later in your career, not that Will Brennan's older by any means, like, knowing your role embracing your role is far more important. So we can talk about, like, we're plugging these guys in. Does that mean I got to switch to Wilmer Flores?
No, I'm saying this is a good part. I'm just
Oh
letting
yeah,
you know.
I see the segue here.
You
Wilmer
led
Flores
right into this.
He's a perfect example of a guy that knew his role, a veteran guy. I'm not an everyday guy anymore. I'm going to be ready. And the value of him walking up and hitting a pinch hit home run, that is the hardest thing in the world to do, is sit around for 2.5 hours, come up and face a reliever throwing 100, and then be productive.
Wilmer Flores, first of all, almost everybody's favorite guy. Like, just chill, cool. I've never written a story like this in my life. I wrote a story about, like, why is Wilmer Flores so cool once, which remains one of my favorite stories, because he just is. You can't really describe it. But that kind of, that explains the sort of player he is to be a great bench player. And he's among the best bench. It's such a skill. It's such a skill. I remember when I covered the A's, I kept trying to turn Chad Pinder, another favorite, into a bench player, maybe because the same thing, just like very even keel, not too high, too low. It's so hard for a young player. It's so hard. And Wilmer Flores, it's a lot of times it's got to be an experienced guy. You get pinch hits in huge places. That alone is tough, but it's the going without playing regularly. But I talked to Wilmer yesterday, which was a delight as always. And he's still looking for work, but he's chill about it. He's just like, yeah, man, I got some minor league offers and I'm not waiting for a minor league offer. I'm waiting for a big league offer. So he's, there's been some interesting injuries and other things going on here lately. I hope he gets a job, because to me, he's not done. To him, he's not done. And man, what he brings to a team, not just a steady guy on the bench, but he's a leader. He keeps things just really calm in a clubhouse, and he's such a great mentor for Latin players, such a great mentor. So I hope he winds up with something soon. Whoever gets him is going to be lucky. And I hope, if he wants to be, will be a terrific coach down the line. Absolutely.
Well, if I'm Wilmer Flores, and I don't know what he's thinking, I got to hold out for a team that's going to win. Like, his value is to a winning ball club that's going to play in October. He's not coming off the bench for the Rockies and to get a pinch hit. No. So he's earned the right to be very selective. Whether he's taking it, he's probably just going to take it to the house if it's not a team that's has a chance to win. So he's waiting around, and that's where his value would be. I mean, I hate to say it on a Giants podcast, but like him off the bench for the Dodgers, I mean, that's or a team like that, the Yankees or the Mets. Go back to the Mets and go full circle, because he's still popular in New York. He was one of the most popular in New York Mets when he played there. Remember when he got traded and he was crying and yeah. So Wilmer's popular wherever he goes, and it's not just because he's cool. It's because he plays the game the right way. Like, he gets guys over. He hits behind runners. He sacrifices his at bat for the good of the team. And then when you need a big hit, he gets a big hit. So, what is he? 34 now?
34.
35. That's a guy that's got to play on a big market team that has a chance to do some damage in October.
I agree. And he'll help. I mean, he was the Giants' best player the first 2 months of the season last year.
He was.
I mean, he kept them going. He had him in first place. And like Devers deal, brilliant. But after the Devers deal, Wilmer just didn't play anymore. And Giants weren't as good. I'm not saying it was necessarily all because of Wilmer.
You love Wilmer. He's your favorite player.
Yeah,
we talk about him all the time. I'm shocked that you did it. I opened up the Chronicle. I'm like shocked that you did a story on Wilmer Flores.
I do love Wilmer. You know who else loved Wilmer? Gabe Kapler loved Wilmer so much. We used to just give him grief about it all the time. But I was secretly thinking, like, yeah, I get it. I love Wilmer. You know what? In an objective way, as journalists are supposed to be objective.
Yeah, but we have our favorites. We're just not allowed to say it. I say it all the time. I really don't care. And as everybody watching knows, everybody's my favorite. Where are we going now? I forgot what you said we're doing next.
Well, I mean, speaking of one of your
Eldridge.
favorites. Yeah. Oh, look, we did it at the same time. Yeah. Where are you seeing things right now with Bryce? Is he on the team or not?
That I don't know, because I'm just a dork on a podcast and I don't make those decisions. But what I would say is that he's doing everything right to make a team, and I'm not shocked. He had like 113 mile an hour out the other day. He had a double in the gap yesterday. There was 112. His swing looks very fluid, very on time. His body language is oozing confidence. He's been way better than I ever thought at first base. He made a diving play on a bad throw where he was fully extended and picked it at the same time. He's made great plays around the base. He looks like he can play first base at the big league level. So it's all there right now. On top of that, I talked to him on the bench yesterday before batting practice. And I'm like, so heard you met your idol the other day, Bryce Harper. I go, is that cool, dude? He goes, dude, you have no idea. Like, he's been my guy since I was 8 years old in DC, watching you on TV and watching him on TV. And he said there was one game in Little League. He goes, I would emulate him. I wanted to be like him. And there was a game in Little League where the day before Bryce hit 3 home runs in 2015. And by the way, he's making me feel old as hell telling me all this.
You are.
And so the next day in Little League, he hit 3 home runs too. And so he said, I would just try to copy what Bryce did. He goes, that was the coolest thing ever. I think Bryce told him, and you probably know this, that you're going to be on Team USA next time around the WBC.
Yeah. And, Aaron Judge did too. Aaron Judge had lots of nice words to say about Bryce Eldridge after that WBC exhibition. That's a lot. But what I will say is, I talk to scouts all the time. I love the scouts. They know what they're looking at. I don't always. And they are so weirdly split on Bryce Eldridge. There's a bunch that think he needs more time. He needs more time at Sacramento. He's 21, still learning first, still really learning how to hit at the upper levels, right? I mean, we've seen it, but a lot of them think don't rush him. He's such a special talent. Do not rush him. I think he's ready. Then there are scouts who are like, oh yeah, I'd put him in there right now. What I've kind of noticed when I'm talking to scouts is the ones that are really high on put him in right now are from the teams that are younger, going younger, or are really lacking in any big sluggers. And I think they're looking at Bryce going, man, that guy I would put in right now. So, and it's really the scouts from sort of the bigger market, really successful teams that are like, move him, like let him develop a little bit more. So I don't know. Maybe that's just a where your team is kind of stance on Bryce Eldridge, but that's how it's a tough call, right? You don't want him to open the season on the roster and have it like get off to a really bad start and have it affect him. Now, you and I know Bryce. He does not have that kind of personality. If he comes up and has like a tough month and goes back to Sacramento, he will be fine. He is not lacking in confidence. I don't think that will hurt him. So I hope that's not a consideration. I'm big on you want the best guy on your roster to help you win. I think right now, Bryce Eldridge is a guy who does that.
Well, I mean, and you could flip-flop him and Rafi at first and keep them both fresh. I mean, it doesn't have to be one guy plays all the time and Bryce just DHs. You could split that right down the middle if you wanted to. And then, you have to worry about injuries with Rafi sometimes. And now you're keeping both guys on top of their game, number one, and you're still developing Bryce at first base. And the big leagues is a tough place to learn, but he's already gotten a taste of it last year. He's in spring training right now, playing a tremendous first base and very confident in offense and defense. I think it's going to be a tough decision for the Giants, but I think there's room for both of those guys at first base and at DH this year.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's room. I think the only question is Bryce ready? And to me, he looks ready, but not everyone agrees. So I'm just going to sound that note of caution. I'm sure that even in the Giants front office, I'm sure there are divided opinions on whether he's ready or not. I'm sure on the coaching staff, there are probably a little bit of, people sounding notes of caution. He's 21, and you don't want to mess with his development. You want him, if he needs to still develop a little bit more in Sacramento, that might have to happen if depending on whose voice is the one that makes the decisions and feels most strongly. If Buster Posey thinks he needs a little more time, he's going to get a little more time. So I don't think it's necessarily a done deal. He's on the opening day roster, but he's certain. You know what? He's so close. Even if he's not, we will see him. I would guess we would see him pretty soon. So we had Hunter Mentz on the other day. You had a wonderful chat with Hunter Mentz. It was so interesting. If people haven't listened to that or watched it yet, definitely go back because I learned a lot. But right now, the Giants are leading the majors in spring batting average. Do we care about that? And also, they're hitting grand slams like crazy. 3 of them so far.
They are. I'll tell you this. It's spring training, and if they were last in the league in batting average, I would be like, it's just spring training. There's nothing into that. But it's something. I mean, you look at all the gaudy numbers, whether it's Ramos or Matos or Bryce Eldridge, you just go down the line. Everyone's hitting 400, 500, 300. I think there's something to it, but I'm also not good. I would poo-poo it if they were last. So it's spring training. I mean, it's nice, but well, get to me in July, and if they're at the top in average, that's when it matters. But I will say this from a player standpoint, it feels good to have a good spring training, even though it doesn't go on the back of your baseball card. It gives you confidence when you break camp and head north that your swing's right. There's also that little man in your head saying, I hope you didn't get all your hits in spring training, and then once the season starts, now what? Because there's always a lull after a hot streak, and you're like, is the lull going to be on opening day when it counts and goes on the back of my baseball card? So as you could tell, I was an overthinker. But you want to have your spring training is about getting your timing right, your strike zone right, and feeling good about yourself. It's not about batting average. It's not about how many hits. It doesn't go on the back of your baseball card. If you're a veteran guy in spring training, a perfect at bat is a line out to short where you hit it as hard as you could. Because then you don't have to run the bases, go right back to the dugout, come up again, line out to center field, go back to the dugout. You don't have to run the bases. Those are veteran at-bats in spring training. You don't care what your numbers are down here. You just want to feel right at the plate. You want to feel confident at the plate. You want to feel good when the planes fly over on opening day.
All I'll tell you is in 30 whatever years of doing this, for every player who has this hot spring and then goes on to have a great season, or every team that has a great spring and then goes on to make the playoffs, there are just as many, of the opposite, great spring and then terrible season and never heard from again. Teams that have amazing spring. I mean, the Giants had some good springs in the last couple of years and didn't do what they wanted to do during the regular season. So Billy Beane always said, don't fall in love during spring training. I try to take that to heart, but sometimes it's difficult.
That's hard. That's hard in Scottsdale off the field too. But I'll tell you this, like I had a teammate, Shane Andrews in Montreal, was one of my dear friends, and he would rake in spring training. I'm talking 500 home runs every spring. And as soon as the calendar flipped and it counted, they pitch you different. They scout you different. Guys are working on things in spring training. They're not showing your whole arsenal because they might face you during the season. And if they do show you their whole arsenal, like that's dumb, I think, in spring training. So guys are I'm change up heavy today. I don't care if I give up 8 runs. It's the same for pitchers. They're just working on things. So you can get a little too excited in averages in spring training. And it's a tough way to evaluate. I always thought, as a GM or a president of baseball operations or a big league manager, it's tough evaluation down here. September is the hardest month when you're out of a pennant race to evaluate a kid that gets called up because the games don't mean a whole lot. It still is the big leagues. And here, guys can change as soon as there's a third deck and 40,000 people and it's on ESPN or Netflix and it's the only game on TV. Then all of a sudden the nerves start to take over and you're playing for a salary and a contract and your family and your career. It's just free and easy down here. So I don't know how they evaluate. I think this is the toughest time and the toughest place.
Yeah. Or the games on Fox 1, remember. But the one thing I would also add is don't fall out of love during spring training either. You have to make evaluations, but don't cut off guys. Unless they're out of options, right? Like if you have a terrible spring and you're out of options, well, kind of don't really have much chance, right? But otherwise, like, a guy, say, we spent so much time talking about Hayden. Hayden Birdsong doesn't quite figure it out here. Nobody is going to give up on him, right?
No.
But don't do that to, say, the non-roster guys who might be really useful additions. Give them opportunities as much as possible, depending on your rosters, either at the big league, AAA, or whatever, because this is not the time of year to really make like huge career type judgments on somebody. So
remember Sparky Anderson, the old manager of the Tigers? He was the Reds first for the Big Red Machine.
Hilarious.
He would say, this is the next Mickey Mantle about some kid, and this is the next, and he was the guy that was roller coaster in spring training every year. It was the next so-and-so, and he would put labels on. Felipe, who's my idol and hero, and I wouldn't be talking to you today if it wasn't for him. He used to get super excited about young players in spring training, like overly excited, like, oh, this kid can play, and then he wouldn't make the team. So like, I think it goes both ways in spring. You can't, if a guy that has resume and back of the baseball card says he's going to do something and he's having a horrible spring, who cares?
Truth.
All right. Anything else you want to cover before the last?
Man, I feel like we've babbled long enough, probably.
Good.
In fact, I think we're starting to repeat ourselves on some of
I'm going to go to the pool. You can close the show.
FP says something about swinging hard or something like that.
Yeah, swing hard in case you hit it on Splash It territory. See you, Susan. Bye, everybody.